Hey guys, it's Mike with another Gilded Guardians video. Today we're going to deep dive into the healers of the game, and we're going to compare Jadey to Aquiris and Flix, and hopefully come out with some sort of idea of who is the best. My best guess at this point in time is I think situationally each of them could have the best case for them. But hopefully after this video we can see who overall is just the best healer in the game. But they do kind of work in different ways, and so I could see under certain circumstances each of them kind of having their own space. But we're going to compare them apples to apples and find out how they measure up. Alright, so what I came up with to test these three healers is we're going to grab them at level 100, we're going to outfit them with the best gear I have available for them. So for Jadey and Aquiris, that's going to be the exact same gear because both of their heals are based on attack. For Flix, it'll be a little bit different gear because her heals are based on HP. So we will make sure that we're giving each of them their best foot forward. We're going to take them into battle with 4 champions that are on level 100 but have no gear on them, and none of their skills have been upgraded. So they're just basic bare bones champions. I did want to grab, I have a mage here for a back row damage dealer. I have an assassin who will kind of move all over the board. I have a warrior up front, and then I grabbed Telva as a tank. So the idea here is just these are common characters that you'd be trying to keep alive, and so that way we can see how the AoE effects of Flix maybe outweigh the single target healing of Aquiris. So coming in with a whole plethora of characters could be the best way to do that. Once we run through this with each of those characters, hopefully we'll have a good idea of what each of them do and whether they measure up and who is the best. Alright, so to start out, we're going to give Jadey her best foot forward. She's a Terra Intelligence Keeper support. We've got her with an attack crossbow, attack boots, and then obviously attack on the weapon, and then we also have the helmet and the chest plate. And we have her outfitted to as far as she can be upgraded at level 100. One thing to keep in mind with Jadey's kit is she continues to get upgraded all the way to level 180. So there are going to be more upgrades to the things that she's doing versus Aquiris and Flix, who only have the 3 and they only upgrade to level 130. The other thing that I can't really fix is I have my Flix at 7-star Radiance level 2, I have my Aquiris at 10-star Radiance level 4, and then I have my Jadey at 5-star Radiance level 0. So that is something to keep in mind as we progress through this video, that they aren't all exactly the same. It just takes too many resources to get them there. But starting with Jadey, let's take a quick peek at her skills. All Things Grow is her AoE heal ability. It creates a radius around the furthest most ally, and then it heals them over 6 seconds. Then she grabs the lowest allies' health and heals them over 5 seconds. Both of those are based on her attack. Then she can put somebody to sleep for 4 seconds, and then she has a passive that slows the enemy down and brings their attack down. So that's going to be her kit. So let's go ahead and jump into the Great Forge and give this a shot. I have not tried this in advance, so this may or may not work to plan, and we might have to make an adjustment. Alright, so we are going to put Jadey up in the front, and the reason for that is with her radius heal, if she's closer to the people in the front, the chances of her getting in on that heal are also going to be pretty good. So we kind of want to give her her best opportunity. I would also potentially put a Nara, because she's a back row damage dealer, in the front for the same reason. She might get swooped up in there. Then we'll grab our assassin, our warrior, and our tank, and they will run past them into battle and then hopefully keep those heals going on the entire team. So let's see if this plays out the way I hope it will. The recommended power level for this is level 85, but again, none of my characters except for Jadey actually even have gear on them. So they're not really at level 100 in the same sense that Jadey is. So the goal here is really just to see if we can keep all of them alive and how well we do. And then compare that to Aquiris or Flix. Alright, so we're going to come on into this first room. Again, we got them in the front here. And just keep in mind, we do have 2 Terra Guardians that are negative affinity in this space. Flix will also be a Terra Guardian, and Aquiris is actually Hydra, so she'll be positive affinity. So tough to compare apples to apples in this game, to be honest with you. So we got 2 times off. We're watching what's going on here. We're kind of working through some damage. We're getting our heal, and right now this radius is going to help everybody because we're all in that space. And so putting them in that front row is a benefit to keeping them alive in this kind of battle. So that first room was pretty easy. Everybody's rolling in with basically topped off health, and we're going to go ahead and give this a go and see if we can continue on that path. I think if you were to put Jadey in the back row, you potentially, I don't think they would be receiving a lot of damage back there just because their front line would have to get through them to do damage. So Telva got a nice knockback here. Nobody's really doing a lot of damage again because they don't have a lot of gear on them. So Jadey's probably doing a majority of the damage here. We can look at the heal she's bringing in. You can look at the attack. She's doing a majority of the damage in this space, but that's just because they don't have gear. Ideally, Ashwin, Inara, these guys would be doing a better job with their damage, but without gear, that we're really just trying to see if we can keep them alive. So looking at what we've got going on so far, our health is really good. We have not been in any danger of losing anybody at all. So that is something to keep in mind as we move forward, just in case some of the other healers are unable to keep all of these folks alive. She started right out with her ability. Again, everybody's right in that space. And I think that's going to be the key part to using Jadey as your healer, is trying to keep your team congested. So using a lot of warriors or tanks, something where they're all going to be in the space getting those heals. So we are taking on a little more damage in this room. If we look at the heals we're taking on here, that's pretty good. We're basically getting beat up pretty good, and Jadey is doing a majority of the damage in this room. And then once we beat this, I want to take a quick peek at the overall stats, and we can kind of see how everybody did within the space. And I'd like to be able to compare that to the other healers when they get done. So we're back up to full health. It was looking a little bit shady there for a second, but we did get rid of a few of the enemies. And so now we're back to just taking on, what do we got? One more boss guy, and then we'll be out of here. But he is doing some damage on us. But once again, we're able to get that healing ability. Now that healing is not affecting Jadey over there. She was outside of the range of healing that was taking place, but she was also not taking any damage. So all in all, everybody made it through with full health. And then I think there's a statistic. Did I skip it? Don't tell me I skipped it. Don't skip it. So Jadey had no problem at all getting through those waves and keeping everybody alive. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, take her gear down. We're going to grab Aquiris, and we're going to put that gear on Aquiris. I do have this guy here, but for giggles and just to keep everything the same, I'm going to use the same crossbow I had on Jadey, and that way there's not any extra benefit she's receiving from there. But we do have the attack boots on. We have the same helmet. We've got the same weapon and the same chest plate. And if we take a look at Aquiris' skills, she's got Tidal Blessing here. It's her ultimate ability. She's going to make the lowest HP ally invincible for 5 seconds and increase their attack by 50%. Water Sprite is her healing ability, so it is not her ultimate. It's actually just her secondary ability. And the lowest ally with HP recovers HP equal to 250% of Aquiris' attack. So this is going to be a very substantial heal. We're up to 340%, which is huge. And then any extra HP recovers converted into shield for 10 seconds. So that's pretty big. And then her passive is she increases the defense of all allies by 20% while she's alive, and we're up to 30%. So that's kind of an intangible benefit she's going to have. Now in this case, we're not actually trying to do any area heals, so we're going to start with our warrior and our tank in the front, and then we're going to grab our assassin, our healer, and then our back row damage dealer in the back. And that will be a more conventional setup because we're not trying to congest everybody at the line to get those heals in that radius. All right, so we're on into that first battle with Aquiris, and we're going to see, now again, she is positive affinity here, so that is a little bit of an advantage. But with Aquiris, she has single target healing and single target immunity. So she's going to probably struggle a little more keeping everybody topped off, but she could probably do okay keeping them alive. So you saw the heal come in there on Telva. She's got immunity over there on Ashwin. He's got the lowest health, and that's who she picks to put immunity on, is whoever has the lowest health. And then her heals come in kind of sporadically because it does take her a minute to cycle through her abilities. But as you can see there, everybody's looking pretty healthy. We weren't in any danger there. She also has the passive ability where you get added defense for your entire team. So that's something that's going to help her keep people alive, make them a little more durable and more sustainable. So that is something that's kind of an intangible on Aquiris' side. But see, as we start taking damage across multiple people, this is where she's going to struggle. So she was able to heal Telva, but you can see Tybor and Ashwin do not have full health. Now she's grabbing the lowest. I can't tell if it's, I think it's Ashwin back there, or it could be Tybor. But one of those two has the lowest health, and it is Ashwin because Tybor is taking damage there. And she needs to cycle back through her healing ability there. She got Telva topped up. Which her heal is very strong. She can do a lot of healing with her ability, but it is single target, and that's kind of the struggle. So now if we take a look at what we've got going on, it just advanced us through. This was the stat sheet I wanted to look at with Jadey. So again, we see that Aquiris is doing a majority of the damage because she's the only one with gear on. And then as far as taking and tanking damage, you got Telva up here doing a lion's share of that. And then we're looking at some pretty solid heals. But those heals are single target. And I think chances are we're probably going to lose somebody moving into this next round. Alright, so we're entering into that third battle. You can see Ashwin back here struggling, Tybor struggling, Inara's taking a little bit of damage, and Aquiris can only heal one of them at a time. So chances are we're going to lose either Tybor or Ashwin. It just depends on, yeah, it looks like, oh, she got the Tybor just in time. He was almost dead. So it looks like Ashwin's probably going down now. Yeah, we didn't get the heal there in time. Inara's taking some damage here, and she's in the back row because we've lost our guys up front. Now we've lost Telva. So things are starting to fall apart here. But this will actually be a moment where Aquiris does a little better because she can focus all of her attention on one Guardian. So right now, Inara being the last, she healed her up to full health. She'll probably still be able to get through this battle even by herself if she had to. But you can see that we lost 3 of our champions. She was not able to keep them alive. But once she got down to focusing on one Guardian, she's doing an amazing job keeping them topped off. Now, that being said, depending on the team that you build, this was the thing I missed for Jadey, so we might have to come back and do it. So she did 1 million in healing, and she lost 3 out of the 5 players. Now, that being said, if you are building a team where you have a lot of back row damage dealers, and you have one person up front that takes on a majority of the damage, she is going to excel in that space. But once you get some ranged attackers like a Darizda that's doing damage in the back row, or assassins that come back and you start taking damage across multiple allies, that's where she's going to start to fall down. But as you saw, once she was just her and Inara, she had no problem keeping Inara alive because she's going to make her invincible, and then she's going to heal her. And between those two things, she's going to do a great job. So if you had someone like a Priel up front that's basically taking care of themselves, and then somebody like a Tuskrog, she would probably spend most of her energy on Tuskrog, keeping him alive, and everybody in the back would be doing just fine, assuming they don't have assassins that are doing damage in the back row or AoE damage. But now let's jump in, and we're going to move everything over to Flix and give her a shot. Alright, so on Flix we're building her a little bit different. We did get her an HP boots because all of her heals are based on HP. And then we also got her in an HP crossbow with the highest HP that I have on the account. The other 3 pieces are the same for the champions. All right, so her ultimate ability is Fade Touch. This is her heal over 6 seconds, and these are going to be pretty substantial heals coming in. Quiet Prayer is going to be picking the ally with the lowest and recovering health over 6 seconds as well. And then Divine Blessing is her passive heal, which basically over every 8 seconds is where we're at right now. The entire team is going to receive 3% of her max HP as a heal. So that should be pretty helpful as far as keeping everybody alive. So let's grab Flix. We're going to head on over to the Great Forge and see what she can do. All right, so for her lineup, again, it's going to be a conventional lineup because she's not limited by any particular location she's healing. It's just AoE heals almost across the board. So we're going to grab the warrior and the tank up in the front. We're going to get the healer in the back middle, and then Inara and Ashwin back here. And I don't think it matters, but I'm pretty confident I had Ashwin on this side of Aquiris, and I think this was the lineup. So let's just try to compare apples to apples the best we can. But we're going to get started here. We got 2 times off so we can see what's going on. We're building up our abilities. Haven't really seen any ticks of heals. So here we go. You're going to start to see these heals coming in. So 66,000 every second is what she's doing, which is going to do an amazing job just keeping them topped off. The damage coming in from the enemies isn't that high. You saw another tick of health there. That was probably her 8 seconds, and they received 3% of her health, and it just comes across the board. And then the person with the lowest health is also getting ticks of health. All right, so we're on into that second room. Yeah, so there's her second ability gives ticks of health on the lowest HP ally over 6 seconds. So we'll see. Somebody should be getting ticks of health once she runs that ability by themselves. And then you have ticks of health with her AoE that hit everybody, and then every 8 seconds, there's your tick of health. That's 3% everybody gets. So here you got down here, Telva is getting the ticks of health from the second ability, and now we're all going to get health from running that ability that she just ran. So you can see the effect of the AoE ability to keep people topped off is substantially better when you have multiple people taking damage. And that's really where Flix is gonna excel, is when multiple people are taking damage compared to Aquiris, who can only heal one person at a time. This is gonna be significantly more impactful. So we're working through the team. It's taking a little bit of time here, but that's okay. I think Flix is probably doing the majority of the damage over here just because she's the only one with gear on. So it might take a little bit for us to get through that, but that's why we're testing it, because it really shows the durability of what she's doing here. Now you got Tybor, who's taking some serious damage there and didn't get a chance to get some heals on him, so I'm a little bit nervous for his future. If we take a peek at what's going on here, we got 3 million heals on Flix so far. So you can see we're at just about 1 million in heals with Aquiris. Her healing, because she's healing everybody, is substantially higher so far, and it'll only be better once we get through the next battle. All right, so we are into that 5th and final room here. We have Tybor, who's struggling a little bit. Hopefully we have a heal coming in shortly. He may not make it long enough to get through that, but we'll give it a shot and see how he goes. He's also negative affinity, so he does take a little more damage, but he did go down. We also lost Telva. So that's a little bit of a struggle there. We just did not get to her ability fast enough. The other 3 of them look like they're in pretty good health. Ashwin's taking some damage up front there, but with that ability kicking in, it's doing okay. We're probably going to lose him. So that's a little bit of a struggle. Now this is where Flix is not going to be able to keep her alive, because her heals are not as big as Aquiris's because they go across the board. So she's going to struggle to keep her topped off. Although her heals are actually pretty big by comparison because of the gear she has on. But she is going to struggle to keep her alive, where Aquiris was probably a lot more comfortable in that space. So it's looking okay right now. It is looking okay right now. We still have 3 enemies. Now we're down to 2. So at this point we're probably going to be okay, because we're going to get down to 1 enemy that we can just pick apart slowly. But you can see the way their heals work is just so different, and it's not to say one is necessarily better or worse. It could very well depend on the team that you have around them. I do feel like there's a lot of similarities between Flix and Inara, and yet you had Jadey make it through the entire battle with all of the allies, none of them dying. So she did 1.45 million. So that was just for that single room of heals. So she did 50% more heals than Aquiris did in that room. I thought it was cumulative over the entire battle, but it is not. So Aquiris did just shy of 1 million, and Flix did 1.45 million. So she does do more healing, but that's just because she's healing everybody instead of just a single target. All right, we are going to outfit Jadey again and go back in because I want to see what those final stats were in the final room to compare. And we're also going to put her in a more conventional setup to see if it really makes a difference. So if we go back into, I'm going to have to buy power. I got to buy power. 50 rubies, that's what I do for you. So we're going to set her up in a conventional way. We're going to do Tybor and Telva up front just like we have been. And then we'll do Ashwin, our healer, with Jadey. And not Aquiris, goofball, and Inara in the back. And we're going to give that a shot and just see if that radius heal still reaches her, or if the people in the back row are no longer affected by those heals. All right, so we're in that first room again with Jadey here. We're going to go ahead and hit fight. We got 2 times off so we can see what's happening. So 3 folks ran into battle here, and we're going to test and see if when she gets her heal going. I don't think it's going to reach these guys back here. So yeah, so they are outside of the zone, but they're also not taking any damage back here. So we're on into that second room, and again, everybody's topped off with health, looking very, very good. And because they weren't taking damage in the back row, they didn't really need any of those extra heals. She does have that secondary healing ability that will heal the person with the lowest HP, regardless of where they are. So that would take care of somebody in the back row if you needed it. But I think the right move here is putting her in the front row and letting her benefit from those heals as well, and just keeping everything super congested right there, because her heals are really impactful and they will keep your back row damage dealers alive. If you do find that they're a little squishy, it could be beneficial to move them back, just so they're not in harm's way. But I do feel like her heals will probably overcome the damage they're taking. So we are into that 5th and final room. There was a couple moments in there that got a little bit shaky, but for the most part, they've been doing really well. So she's already ready to start her healing ability again. And once she gets that going, Ashwin's getting a little low there. But you'll see that they just, I mean, each one of those heals ticks them up completely. Now, these guys got past the main line, and now they're back here doing damage on Inara. So that was one of those one-time heals for the lowest HP person. So that worked out great in keeping her alive. And now the whole team is back here. So if we get that area heal, it's going to affect us all again. But it will go around the furthest most. Oh, it didn't quite get Jadey, but it got everybody that needed it. So I do think the right move is keeping her in the front row, and that way she is getting a little bit of that healing love as well. We are looking like Telva might get a little bit hurt here, but she's back at it, healing right up. So I mean, there's been some really fortunate timing with her ultimate ability coming through, but she is able to keep all of them alive, which neither Flix nor Aquiris could do. So that's, I think, saying quite a bit just right there. I think she's kind of the best of both worlds because she does a lot of healing, and it can be mostly AoE. So she did 1.8 million in healing versus 1.5 that Flix did, and then versus less than just shy of 1 million for Aquiris in the same room. Now that being said, she kept everybody alive, so those AoE heals were healing more people, and therefore that number would be increased by that. But I think more important than the number here is all 5 of these champions are walking out of this dungeon. So I think as far as healers go, Jadey is going to be the top tier healer in the game. The only exception to that I could potentially see would be Leah, and I have not played with Leah. I think that she is attack first, heal second, but I have heard her healing ability is pretty good. But I do think Jadey is probably going to be a couple steps above both Flix and Aquiris as far as healing. So final thoughts. I think Flix and Aquiris are probably almost interchangeable. They both had a very similar amount of success with losing 3 people in that final battle. I do think the AoE heals from Flix kept things more comfortable longer. But if you do have other Guardians on your team that do self-healing, it might be beneficial to get those added defense stats and things like that from Aquiris. Or if you have a situation where only 1 or 2 of your folks are doing taking a majority of the damage, Aquiris might be a benefit in that space. But I think in more cases, Flix is going to be the better choice, but not by much. I think that being said, I think it's pretty clear that Jadey is going to be the better choice probably across the board. She got all 5 Guardians through the dungeon, and her heals were bigger than Flix's. She kind of did the big heals you get from Aquiris, but she did it for the people in the front that need it the most. And I think if you're strategic with where you place her on the team, you can kind of get you can take advantage of that space a little better. And even your back row damage dealers, you put them on the front line, all of a sudden they're getting those heals too. So I do think that she is a fantastic champion. It's awesome to have a legendary healer in the game, and I do think that she is a step above both Flix and Aquiris. So if you are lucky enough to have her on your account, congratulations. Hopefully you found this beneficial and helpful. If you feel like there's a flaw in something I did, please let me know in the comments. I was trying to figure out the best way to compare these healers and give you an honest answer about who is the best. I do feel like we got there today, which I'm kind of surprised. I thought it would be a little closer and harder to tell. I think when it comes to Flix and Aquiris, it is. It's just super close and hard to tell which one of them is better. I think they just do different things, but I do think Jadey takes the cake when it comes to healers. So I appreciate you spending the time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.